What's up, everybody? I'm Novo coming at you with another one. Had a request to have a look at SRWF Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. And um, I sent a quick pic to the requester just to show him what I was looking at. But looking at this a little bit longer, I'm just looking at. This pattern here, right? So we had this big J hook come up, and then um, the pullback, and it's not exactly, these triangles can go either way, right? So we've got consolidation, and we've got the bears trying to sell off, and we've got the bulls trying to buy up, and at some point the spring compresses and there's an explosion. And when it's this is not an ascending or a descending triangle. What do they call that? Well, it's asymmetrical, but anyways, it could go either way. And of course, the Bulls won the game here this time. Had this been more like that, where the bottom is horizontal, uh, the Bears would constantly be having more and more down pressure, whereas the Bulls are setting up a point where they're willing to buy, but there's a higher chance that the bulls would get exhausted with further shorting, and then you'd have a breakdown to the bottom. And likewise, if it was like this, same thing. The bull or the bears are trying to short, and the bulls are constantly willing to buy more expensive until there's a breakout to the upside. So I just wanted to point out this guy that happened right here. Now, as we zoom in, lo and behold, what do we have? We have this triangle happening like so. It might be a little tighter, but I'm just watching this swing here, and I see that we came down and we tested here. And if we use a GAN box, there's different ways to figure this out, but if we use a GAN box, so we will try from there. Why is this like that? There we go. That's better. Right about, is that like so? Come on. So that pretty well lines up the bottom end of the wedge. Now, traditional traders will look at this triangle and say that the breakout will be as long as the length of this. So if we square off with the GAN box, it kind of does the same thing. However, um, I think what we can do is see, it kind of points to roughly the same thing. But if we clone this, actually, we won't even need to clone it. We'll just get a GAN fan. Where are you there? Okay. And that goes right about there. We split off right about there. And I think that our breakaway will be within this tangent, right? So if it's a weak growth, follow here. If it's strong, I think it would find resistance along this 1-to-1. You can also grab the fan and put it here, and then open up the thirds and the fourths and the eighths. So is it this guy? Nope. This guy, third, fourth, eighth. And same thing. If there's a breakdown, odds are it's going to find the next valuable tangent to try and find support, right? So it's like an airplane. It takes off. If it's too steep, um, it's got to find an angle at which it can take off and gain altitude at the same time. So trying to keep this short and sweet. Having a look at um, these candles, the dailies. We can see that had a little bit of a doji. So our first resistance was here. This looks like smart money, you know. Uh, they pushed up, they tested, tried to sell off, and then they ended up closing higher. Then we've got the doji signal, and then we have the dump. Now the dump is to find out where is the next support level. We can see that this long wick here is where people are willing to buy, uh, and that seems to be the gap right about here. And I'm trying to look. This is where resistance was before, and we see the dip in there. These two moving averages are the 12 and 26, which um, runs well when you use it with the MACD. Let's have a look at MACD. Moving average, convergence, divergence. So MACD is above the zero cross. And remember, when the MACD is below the zero cross, odds are we're in a downtrend. And every time it crosses to go up, it's dangerous. You watch for the cross to go back down, and that would be a short entry. And vice versa. When you're above, you do not short this. I know this happened, but it's very dangerous. You're looking for entries on the MACD cross to the upside above the zero cross, and you're doing the opposite down here. Moving averages are pointing up, so every dip down here is probably a buy once we cross to the upside. Going to getting a little bit myopic here. Same thing. Continued. These are strong candles because they're green, but you can see the continued resistance that's happening here. That was that round here was the doji that we were talking about earlier. And we see that strength is coming up. Like there's more wicks on the bottom. So the argument is, this is the story. The argument is on both sides. So these wicks are the arguments. Oops, something happened there. I'm not sure. Hopefully, I didn't lose the video. The wicks are the arguments, and it's the bull saying that this is a deal. Whereas there's not as many wicks up here, so not as much selling pressure. They're just agreeing that this is the consolidation. And just looking at this on a lower time frame, we can see, I don't know if that would nullify it, but we have a cup and a handle, and now we have a mini cup and a handle. And this depth might be the breakout, and we can see a close. The last hour, I guess, was a close to test the upside. So if you play the 1 hour, you can see what the moves that are happening on the inside, and it looks like the moving averages, the 12 and the 26, are showing support, and eventually this looks like it's going to pop to the upside. Not only will you see this move, another bull, anyways, this move should see, I don't want to include the wick this time because this candle is really, like, technically we should just do this, right? And say that the breakout at some point is going to bring us to about here, at which point we'll consolidate here. That will complete this handle. And then this will be the next breakout. Be the next breakout, which is this arrow we were talking about before. And what looks like the angle of attack, I think in the future, this will be our resistance line, right? So we are looking at that as potential resistance. And this tangent here as potential support. You can see that. And then we may see a channel broadening. So we've got a wedge where we have range compression. Eventually, we're going to see a breakout. Uh, I'm favoring the upside, and at which point you go from range compression to range expansion. And where this goes here, we don't know yet. We're just favoring the upside now. And on the short term, you can see that MACD is just crossing there. So once we see a defined movement to the upside and it gets confirmed, then we go to the 4 hour and we start watching for a close above this. And then we start looking for entries for a continuation to the upside. Looks like that's what is happening. And you can see how we're just coming down and we're resting. We're getting ready to pop a green light to continue on to the upside. We can also see how the histogram, oops, move this up a little higher. We can see how this histogram is signaling less down pressure, right? Less down pressure. This was more down pressure. So this was this consolidation. Eventually, this is less, and we'll probably see greater buying opportunity and momentum to the upside. Hope I'm not continuing to repeat myself, but that's what I see. Let's close this off and consider that as our thumbnail. And we'll call that a day. Trade safe.